What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for another episode of UnScripted number 96 for you, November 24th, 2019. As of this recording, I have not seen NXT TakeOver Wargames, as Wargames is going on later on in the night. This is being taped before that. But the simple fact is, I want to get this out on Sunday before Wargames happens. Of course, Wargames and Survivor Series will both be reviewed on Monday. Just too much going on. So, Wargames and Survivor Series back-to-back reviews on Monday. There will be one video, not two. Now, this was a crazy week for Monday for WWE because you had Raw, SmackDown, NXT having the go-home shows to Survivor Series. NXT was supposed to be doing a go-home show as well for Wargames, but they decided to pull that back and build towards Survivor Series. Did it help them in the ratings? We'll talk about that later because I have my thoughts on the AEW NXT ratings for this week and why everyone should not be celebrating a win for NXT. So, as we always do for the majority of this podcast, we talk about Raw, we talk about AEW, NXT, and SmackDown. NXT, Monday Night Raw, as we start out with, was so bad. I got nothing outside of it was the Survivor Series go-home show, which of course saw NXT and SmackDown invade and led us to what we were going to have on NXT and Friday night. Of course, at the end of that show, the big brawl happened, and Triple H came on the screen and said, it's an open invitation, the open door policy, where anybody from Raw and SmackDown can come in to our show, and there we go. And that was what set up for NXT on Wednesday. And Lashley, Rusev, Lana will not end. We did not see Rusev because Lashley had a match with No Way Jose. Lana comes out and just gives one of the most cringiest, boring, I don't give a fuck promos that she could, showing a restraining order with their real names because you gotta go as real as possible. And just not sound I don't know if it's Lana doesn't give a fuck and she's just going through the motions man, I can't wait till my contract's up so I don't have to do this dreck anymore. But it's just, I'm tired of this fucking thing. I've said it, other people have said it, it's not good for the WWE. Oh, you should check the YouTube numbers. The YouTube numbers are huge. I don't care what the YouTube numbers say when it comes to this. YouTube numbers are my thing, on my channel I care about, but when it comes to this, that does not correlate to ratings. These ratings for Monday Night Raw, which we'll talk about in a bit, are still effing low, and people saying, Dave Meltzer was saying that the ratings were up in this segment. I don't buy that for a minute. Last week the ratings were down. It was the worst, I believe it was the worst non-holiday episode of Monday Night Raw of all time in the modern era, which would be the 3-hour era. And quite honestly, it was terrible. And that third hour, that dropped from hour 2 to 3, which was 3 million. Of course, last week it was 3 million, dropped from 1 to 2, and 2 to 3 was another 3 million. And that Lana, Lashley, and Rusev segment started at the end of the second hour into the third hour. If that was a ratings draw, then there wouldn't have been a 3 million drop between hour 2 and hour 3. So I don't buy that these ratings are being boosted a little bit with this fucking show. I've explained this before, and I'll explain it again. YouTube numbers do not correlate to ratings because, honestly, I could sit there and, let's see here. And What Culture Wrestling puts out a new video. I could sit there and watch that video, like that video, watch it again, watch it again, watch it again, watch it again, watch it again until my 10 views have come from me. Someone else does that to where the numbers will look like a shit ton of people watched it, but only a certain few, which I know What Culture gets out a lot more views than I would ever get. Just putting an example out there. My videos, which don't get many views. One person can sit there and be like, oh, this person, I want to hear this person's thing. And they just play it over and over and over again because they want to find something and, just try and dissect what this person is saying. Or, if you watch a 2-minute trailer for a movie, you know how many times people watch those trailers over and over and over and over again trying to pick out little things, especially like a Marvel movie. when Black Widow's trailer comes out, I guarantee you, people who snooped at this shit and watch these shit, like, breaks this stuff down, is going to watch that video at least 100 times, trying to find each and every little Easter egg they can find. So that video is going to look like a lot more people watched it than you probably would have if it wasn't for people trying to find the Easter eggs. So people saying that you should check the YouTube numbers and look at the YouTube numbers before you say anything, shut the fuck up, because that is a little bullshit. Now, NWA Power I usually don't talk about because it's on Tuesday. That's my recreational stuff. That and AEW Dark. NWA Power was in the headlines, and this went way over my fucking head. We're watching it. We have a match between Trevor Murdoch and the NWA champion, the National Treasure, Nick Aldis. Which I find that funny because it's from the UK, but he's called the National Treasure. Either way. But during this match, Jim Cornette says Trevor Murdoch is the only guy that I know who can strap a bucket of chicken to his back, ride a motor scooter through Ethiopia. This got a lot of hate. A lot of people calling Jim Cornette a racist. A lot of people hating on this shit. Jim Cornette refused to apologize, so he resigned, in quotes, from the NWA, which, in my opinion, we will talk about Jim Cornette's non-apology from his podcast, which dropped on Friday after after all this. But I'm a 29-year-old white boy. I don't know. This just went over my head. Well, I'll go a little bit further into how I think this could have been avoided later on. But yes, we'll have some talk about the NWA Power controversy, and the guy, It's Still Real to Me, damn it guy, who years ago was sitting in some gymnasium, got a mic, and with emotion was like, "It's still real to me, damn it." He was at the NWA tapings, and he actually tweeted out, to not spoil anything now, that they had at least 2 more episodes in the can, and Jim Cornette got in the ring in one of these moments to, for something like a feel-good moment, which is obviously something I'm not going to talk about here, but it's going to be interesting what NWA does for the next 2 episodes of the show, because the way they do their commentary is that the commentary is seen off to the side, bright as day, on the show. Every once in a while, when they switch to that camera, it's right there in the studio. If Jim Cornette and his partner, which name escapes my mind all the time, were not seen on television, it was just they were doing post-match audio or something, or it was they were in a secluded area, then they would easily be able to eliminate Jim Cornette from it, and they could have the guy who does commentary come back in to the studio, re-record dialogue with him by himself or with somebody else, just to make the stories make sense, or make the shows make sense. But unfortunately, because of how they do things, it's going to be interesting how the NWA and the NWA's Powers next 2 episodes are going to be done. They do have Into the Fire coming up in December, which is going to be in about 3 weeks, if I'm correct. 3 weeks from yesterday, right? Yeah, 3 weeks from yesterday. There will be NWA Power is going to have, NWA is going to have Into the Fire, which I don't even know the card. And they're 3 weeks out. Let's move over to AEW. This was a fun episode of AEW on TNT. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Chris Jericho is the best heel in the business. He is the best character in the business. This guy comes out, he's being a pompous prick. He's come out with a huge announcement that next week in Chi-Town, which again, Chicago is getting spoiled with SmackDown on last night, Raw on Friday. Well, I'm taping last night. NXT TakeOver Wargames right before I record this. Survivor Series on Sunday. Monday was Raw, and then 2 nights later in another building, they're going to have AEW. So that is 5 nights of wrestling. I wonder if the AEW crowd is going to be, a little tiresome from wrestling because they had SmackDown, which was not a good show. TakeOver, which should be a fantastic show. That's going to just be, that's going to kill anything for Raw and Survivor Series. Survivor Series, which will be probably a decent pay-per-view because of NXT's involvement, and the Survivor Series matches are going to be interesting to see what they do with 15 men and women on each side, or on 3/4 of the ring. Just throw NXT UK in there, we'll have 20 men and women. How about that? And then, of course, Monday Night Raw, which Monday Night Raw is going to kill any buzz for wrestling in Chicago until we get to AEW on Wednesday. Which it has been confirmed that Cody will be making his in-ring return from after his match at Full Gear. The first match he's had since Full Gear will be this coming Wednesday. His opponent has not been named. I'm sure it's just going to be some schlub jobber for him to beat, just to get him back on his winning ways. They did release the new polls this week, the new ranking system, and quite honestly, since Cody Rhodes is ineligible and he decided he's not going to put himself in the world title picture ever again, which I don't see that happening. I see him getting back in eventually. I don't think he should be in the top 5. I don't care what his record is now, because now if they come out with a mid-card title or a secondary title, I would love to see Cody be the one, probably carrying that title to bring it up to prominence. And that would be a hell of a feud for him and MJF, for him to drop that title to MJF. Speaking of MJF, he was in that Dozen Battle Royal, that Diamond Dozen Battle Royal they did. I still don't know what the hell it's going to be. And we're getting Hangman Adam Page versus MJF. The winner will get that diamond ring this coming Wednesday. I'm calling it right now. MJF's going to win. It's going to be a good way for them to build up him and Cody's feud. And it's just going to be interesting to see where they go from here, because Hangman Page came out on Being the Elite this past Monday and told Nick and Matt that, you know what, I'm just going to ride solo for now. I'm going to do things on my own. So I'll see you guys around. So it's going to be interesting what they do there. Proud and Powerful and Private Party gave a great match to pay tribute to a fallen friend, aka Matt Travis. At least one member of each team came out supporting a loving memory of Matt Travis t-shirt. The only problem I had with the match, and it's none of these guys' fault, is the too many commercials. This match went 11 minutes, and we had 2 sets of commercials that seemed to go on forever. I don't know what it was about AEW on Wednesday, but it just seemed like we had at least 2 or 3 times during that show that commercial breaks went at least 3 minutes. That is not how long commercial breaks are supposed to go in the United States. 3 minutes for commercials. Are you kidding me? Hopefully they clean that up. And Moxley and Darby Allin, holy shit. These guys went to war, they killed each other, and then Darby Allin, I'm surprised, did not have spinal injury coming out of the fact that he got hit with a Death Rider, an avalanche Death Rider from the top of middle rope, spiking him on his head. If he didn't need a body bag, wow. I'm surprised he didn't die on Wednesday. Why did I say last night? But Wednesday, yeah. Hell of a fucking, and the guy is over. Darby Allin. It's funny because you go to Monday Night Raw and you see crap. You go to SmackDown, you see crap. You go to SmackDown last week and they had a dog mascot with a Roman vest on. And you know why they put that out there? Because they're trying to appeal to the kids. Yet AEW, which is TV-14, has a guy wearing jorts, leggings, and paints half of his face. And you look out in the crowd and you see boys, little boys and girls and women as well, wearing half-painted faces because they're Darby Allin fans. How does a TV-14 product appeal more to kids than WWE, which is supposed to be a kid's product? Nothing you see on WWE's main roster television, Raw and SmackDown, could a kid look at it and be like, that is something I want to watch. You go to NXT, you go to AEW, and you see kids dressing up for Halloween as Darby Allin. There was just plain as day on the hard camera when you're watching the show, right in the front of the thing, a woman with glasses who had half her face painted because she's a fan of Darby Allin and was going to root this guy on for his match against Jon Moxley. During this guy's entrance, they showed a couple shots of kids with painted half faces. This guy is a kid. It's just funny because this guy is a daredevil. The guy goes out there and gives you everything that he can, puts his body on the line, and he is moreover with the young population than anybody in WWE right now. Back to the Jericho and SCU thing, because Jericho and SCU gave you some fucking gold on this night. Jericho comes out, pompous prick, comes out and says he's going to have a celebration next week because he's going to do it in Chicago because Chicago has two baseball teams and a hockey team, making the Indianapolis crowd not so happy. He goes to leave and out came SCU, and then just shenanigans happen from here. You have the reverse psychology shit where he's like, well, you threw a tantrum last week. It's nice that you apologized, but you forgot to show why you had that tantrum. It's because I beat you last week, said Scorpio Sky. And it goes from there, it just breaks down. You have fucking Jericho's like, you have SCU be like, well, he wants a match with you, but it's going to take about 4 months to get this guy ready to be able to face the World Heavyweight Champion. Jericho's like, what? No? You want next? You want a month? 2 weeks? Next? No, you get next week. And then you have Kazarian's like, Scorpio, don't ask for a title shot. You know how how messed up this guy gets about the AEW title. And then it all just leads to Jericho and and Scorpio Sky will be a title match this coming Wednesday in Pac and Kenny Omega. Next Wednesday, we already know what's going on Wednesday. That is fantastic. And everything you want to look forward to. Everything. We don't know what's going to happen on Monday Night Raw. We don't know what's going to happen on NXT. We don't know what's going to happen on SmackDown this coming week. And do we really want to know what's going to happen on Raw and SmackDown for the most part? No. NXT, we'll talk about that in a minute because the NXT, if you're a fan of NXT, I loved NXT from 2012, 13-ish, when you had to go find video files for it on Daily Motion just to get the videos of it because the network didn't exist. But when it hit the network until they moved to the USA Network, I loved NXT for what it was. Now it's becoming a shell of its former self, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But AEW just gives you gold. They give you great matches. They give you great segments. The show, there are hiccups still. Britt Baker is definitely not ready for being a number one contender or being a women's champion. We're still having parts where they go to picture-in-picture when we don't need to see it. There is no reason that a match ends when the first match happens, because the first match usually doesn't have commercial breaks. When that match is over, they go to commercial breaks, but it's not a normal commercial break, it's a picture-in-picture. Why am I seeing picture-in-picture for dead space, for dead air? I don't need to see just the camera panning around the arena. If you're going to do picture-in-picture, do it right. We had another one of those things this time as Chris Jericho and Jake Hager were walking up to the librarians and they went picture-in-picture. So we didn't get to hear what Chris Jericho was saying to the librarians. Of course, he was making fun of them if you didn't know that. So Jericho, on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chris Jericho, he put out the video clip unedited with no picture-in-picture. You actually got to hear what Chris Jericho was saying to these two librarians. So there's still parts of AEW that they need to fix. The crowd noise. I know at Full Gear there was a lot, like during Tony Khan's scrum, there was actually a reporter who asked Tony Khan if he's heard about fans complaining or fans talking about online that the crowd sounded dead. So we get to this show, and for whatever reason, the crowd was way too high and the commentators were way too low. You could barely hear Tony Schiavone. It was like lower than this. Like you could barely hear Tony Schiavone speak. Excalibur, JR tried their best to get their voices heard for half of the show, but it was just so bad. It's like you need to during AEW Dark. You have dark matches that you're putting on YouTube for free every single week. You have at least one match tape before the show. You need to have this shit down pat. There is no fucking reason that this show should be having this many production problems 7, 8 weeks into the product. The one thing that WWE will always have everybody beat is their production values. Their production is just top notch. AEW could go out there and give you good wrestling, give you good storylines, good storytelling, good promos, but AEW can't even hold a candle to WWE's production, especially for live shows. NXT, or should we say, Raw and SmackDown Super Show with NXT sprinkled in. TakeOver, this was the go-home show for TakeOver and the go-home show for Survivor Series. The second I saw NXT is going to be part of Survivor Series, I was like, oh no. I was like, NXT is having a Wargames the night before. Why the hell would you put them in Survivor Series? The biggest reason they did was because AEW had been wiping the fucking floor with NXT. WWE and Vince McMahon was desperate to get NXT to at least get a win or two. They got one. They got one this week. And we'll go over that soon when we go over the ratings, but it's going to set a bad precedent. If NXT won the ratings because of Raw and SmackDown influences, then I have a fear that NXT is going to be gone, and we're going to have Raw and SmackDown Super Show every single week. We'll see Roman on there. We'll see Braun Strowman squashing a Matt Riddle. We'll see Roman squashing a Adam Cole. We'll have the open door policy is going to be a thing. I don't want to see that. People were talking on Twitter yesterday, I think it was, the day before that, yesterday or something, where it's NXT. It took WWE. It's like NXT only won because of the Raw and SmackDown superstars, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not a good thing. Because now, if AEW, and here's the thing, if NXT continues to house Raw and SmackDown superstars, we'll talk about the ratings in a minute. AEW only lost in one demographic for this Raw and SmackDown Super Show that was on NXT. If they continue to do this open door policy, you're not going to get the 18 to 49 demo. You're not going to get these other demos. You're going to rely solely on the 50-plus-year-old demos. Like the 50-plus, the old man demos, the old men and women demos. That's what you're going to be relying on. And eventually that's going to take off because nobody watches NXT for Raw and SmackDown garbage, and that's what we got this past Wednesday was Raw and SmackDown garbage. Now, that being said, was it a bad show? No, it was booked terribly. We had four brawls between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Four. That's too many. However, Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, two members of the UnScripted Era, versus Revival was the best match of the week. If you were going to watch, if you're like, I'm a casual WWE, I'm a casual wrestling fan, I only have time really in my life to watch one match or two from the week of wrestling, what should I watch? Go find NXT and find the Revival versus Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. Holy shit. And the fact that the Revival had to come back to NXT to give you a match that we know as fans who've been watching the Revival since their days in NXT, when they were tearing it up with DIY, when they were tearing it up with the American Alpha, when they were just having match classic after match classic after match classic. These guys come back, they have a great fucking fantastic match against Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. So much so that WWE's YouTube Twitter page posted an exclusive that happened during the commercial break. As the Revival are leaving, Full Sail is chanting, "Please don't go. Please don't go. Please don't go." That's twofold because they don't want them to leave NXT. They want them to stay in NXT, and they don't want them to leave WWE. Because if they leave WWE, they won't be in NXT again to give you a damn good match like that. Unlike Vince McMahon and his just policy on tag team division wrestling not mattering, the Full Sail crowd is going to give you love. If you go out there and put in the work and go out there and give 110% and give us a great fucking match, the Full Sail crowd is going to love what you do. And the Revival got all the love that they rightfully deserved. That was a fantastic match. The only way I could ever see the Revival wanting to stay in WWE and re-sign with the company is if they get back one-way tickets back to NXT, where they can battle the Undisputed Era, where they can battle the Forgotten Sons, where they can battle Imperium, where they can battle the Hunt if they want to go to UK and face those guys, Primate and Wild Boar. It's just, that's the only way I could see that. And of course, Adam Cole and Dominik Dijakovic was the only big thing that built towards NXT TakeOver War Games, because it was a ladder match that had to be the winner got the man advantage for their Survivor Series, for their War Games team. Undisputed Era, of course, get that. It's the heels. A man advantage is usually held to the heels because it helps the heels. The heels are heels. Now, of course, through the entire night, only 2 matches did not end with a post-match brawl. The Tag Team Championship match, the Revival versus Red Dragon, and the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Viking Raiders versus the Forgotten Sons. Everything else had some kind of brawl. Matt Riddle versus Ricochet. I would love to talk for days about Matt Riddle versus Ricochet, but it was only a 3-minute match. I loved what I saw. I would love to see those guys again be able to have about 10, 15, 20 minutes. Give me an Iron Man match between Ricochet and Matt Riddle in a 30-minute Iron Man match, and watch those two give you a great, damn good match. Give me that at fucking TakeOver. Finn Balor, sorry, go away. Give me fucking Ricochet versus Matt Riddle, because I saw some and I want more. I want more, damn it. But yeah, NXT, what we used to love, is no longer there. And with the fact that the way the ratings turned out, and we'll go to that in a minute, I just have a feeling that, like, either way, one of these two things is going to happen. Either AEW is going to win, and WWE is going to, well, we need to get Roman on there because Roman's the star. Or hey, we won with the Raw and SmackDown stars on NXT. Let's continue it. Let's have it continue to happen just so we can bury AEW. That's going to be fine for them in the short term, but in long term, NXT is going to be a shell of its former self, which it already is, and it's just going to continue to drop to where it's Raw and SmackDown lights. NXT is going to turn into ECW 2000, and I'm going to say the whole WWE ECW run, because there was a point in time that it was more catered. They were trying their best to do extreme without being totally extreme. But when Teddy Long took over as GM to the time that they ended, when Tiffany took over and they ended it, that when they made those deals where Raw can be on ECW and SmackDown could be on ECW to the time that they ended the show in 2010, that is what NXT is turning into. I don't want that. I want NXT, which just NXT superstars. You did not need to put NXT in Survivor Series. It was a ploy to try and get ratings for NXT, because they were getting their asses smashed. And the fact that AJ Styles and the OC got NXT so close to AEW 1 week, why don't we just bring everybody? Had you done 1, maybe 2 brawls and used the rest of the show to build up TakeOver War Games, which you need to do, I think this would have been a much better show. And before we get to SmackDown, I gotta say this. It was announced, I believe, on Friday. I could be wrong. But at TakeOver War Games, on the pre-show, it's going to be Angel Garza versus Isaiah Swerve Scott. I have a problem with this. There have been 26 other takeovers. 26. Not once on the pre-show have we had a match. Why all of a sudden does NXT have to have a pre-show match? Why can't you put this on the main card? You only have 4 matches. Why is it not Leo Rush versus Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Angel Garza in a triple threat match? Why are you not putting the Cruiserweight Championship on TakeOver? Why is all your champions in the all your main champions are in the War Games matches? 0 title defenses, which I think hurts the show just a little bit. But it's like, why all of a sudden does NXT have to have a pre-show match? NXT doesn't do pre-show matches. The matches that get taped before the show are for the aftermath show, which they're not going to do anymore. And one other thing. So, I'm looking on Twitter this morning as I'm getting ready to do this later in the night, and Johnny Gargano tweets something out, and it's really heartbreaking to know this. He tweeted out that this NXT TakeOver Wargames is the first takeover he has missed since 2016. That guy was on one hell of a takeover streak that would have continued into 2020 had he not got injured, had he not had any neck issues or whatever his actual injury is. He said, hell of a run and had a broken heart on his tweet. Yeah. Johnny Gargano is called Johnny Taker for a reason, because every single time he went to a takeover, he went out there and he delivered, whether it was with Tommaso Ciampa, against Tommaso Ciampa, against Andrade Cien, against Adam Cole, against against Ricochet, against Aleister Black, against the Authors of Pain. It didn't matter. He is a hell of a talent. And I know people are tired of seeing Gargano, and quite honestly, the injury is a blessing in disguise because it keeps Gargano away for a while and gives other people time to shine. I'm just hoping this isn't going to be a Drew McIntyre situation where he gets injured, he goes away, and then he comes back, but he's on Raw or SmackDown only to be buried. Because Vince McMahon does not know talent. Vince McMahon has never known talent. Anybody tells you otherwise is a fucking liar. But it's just, you see that tweet and it's like, holy shit, it's really been that long. I don't know how long I don't know what his first takeover was, but from 2016 to 2019, takeover Toronto 2, that's 3 years at least. Wow. Just so crazy that this was the first time. It's not going to be the same. By far, it's not going to be the same. But hey, health comes first, and hopefully then he'll have a speedy recovery and we can get at least another 3 or 4 takeovers from this guy. SmackDown. What can I say? We got a new Intercontinental Championship belt. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's talk about that. We talked about it on this on the SmackDown review on this morning because I wasn't able to get it done I wasn't able to get that done until Saturday morning. But last night, on Friday, for Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn brought him out and gave him a new Intercontinental Championship. And the belt is absolutely beautiful. But is it a good belt? I can't. Hold on. Let me get this thing up. So, yes, this is your Intercontinental Championship. It's a thing of beauty. It is a good-looking championship. Now, there's a lot of people who are out there tweeting all Saturday afternoon, all Saturday morning, all Saturday afternoon. Oh, they only did this to get rid of the title that Cody Rhodes introduced 10 years ago, or 9 years ago. Oh, they did this because Cody Rhodes was. It's like everyone's saying that Cody Rhodes is getting rid of the white strap classic championship was the only reason they did this. That's not technically true because there have been reports about 2 years ago. I believe it was a year ago, a year and a half to 2 years ago, that WWE was looking to change both the Intercontinental and the United States Championship and get these side plates on them. Now, there was a picture that came out, which was a false championship, of a redesign of the United States Championship in the same style of what the Intercontinental title looked like before this. Now, I'm hoping coming out of this that we don't go to like Monday or Tuesday, like Monday this week or the week after, and WWE has a U.S. Championship get redone, and it looks just like this, only instead of it saying Intercontinental, it says United States. And the United States, and where the globe is at, where the WWE logo is with the globe, is a the map of the United States. Oh, I just realized what the diamond is in the middle. That's your ring ropes. That's cool. But yeah, that is your Intercontinental Championship. Good looking belt. I'm not warmed up to it yet. It's something that's going to get used to. Can't beat the classics. If WWE redesigned the belts and for the world titles and that's like Rey Mysterio or somebody won the championship from Brock Lesnar and brought back the wing angled belt, but had side plates instead of what it used to have, I think people would be like all crazy for it. Of course, what's the biggest thing that happened on SmackDown? The NXT and Raw invasion. The fact that Baron Corbin didn't want to let them in, but Mustafa Ali, Chad Gable, and Roman Reigns opened the door to let them in. Sasha Banks brought her team out, and it looks like the team NXT is going to be Rhea Ripley's team from Wargames plus Toni Storm. Toni Storm was interviewed by Kathy Kelly after her segment on Monday on SmackDown and told her that informed her that she was trending on Twitter, which I'm not surprised. Toni Storm is absolutely fantastic, and like I said before, can we get her on an NXT television? She's only been in the UK. Why would you? And it's like, if this is the team going into Survivor Series, there is no doubt in my mind Dakota Kai has to turn heel. Dakota Kai has to turn heel. There is no reason that you have Dakota Kai get screwed out of both War Games and Survivor Series and that not eat at her. I can understand, Mia Yim got the spot fair and square. I'm not going to complain about this, but Toni Storm comes out of nowhere and takes you a spot that you should be having being a first time ever match for NXT on Survivor Series. Wow. If I'm Dakota Kai, I'm going after somebody and I'm going to make them pay. So I fully expect next Wednesday for Dakota Kai to possibly start hinting at a heel turn. They spread the seeds so badly to not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before that, where it was just so obvious, but then it wasn't, that Dakota Kai was going to turn heel and join Team Shayna Baszler. That did not happen, and we got Kaylee Ray, which I have no problem with Kaylee Ray. I'm a fan of Kaylee Ray's from WCPW, Defiant Wrestling. But it was just so weird that you have Kaylee Ray, who has not been seen on NXT television ever, to be in this match. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. But of course, what does WWE do? We rinse and repeat what we did on NXT, and we rinse and repeat what we did on Monday Night Raw. Brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl after brawl. Rinse and repeat with The Fiend as well. What is one of the The Fiend is becoming predictable, he's becoming repetitive, and is becoming a lot less special. They hurt The Fiend by having that bullshit finish at Hell in a Cell, which it should have never happened. If you weren't going to give him the championship, if you only kept the championship on Seth Rollins because you wanted to draft the Universal title to Raw and drop Brock Lesnar to SmackDown instead of just having The Fiend win the championship, be drafted to SmackDown, and have Brock Lesnar be drafted to Raw. No, let's have Seth be drafted to Raw with the Universal title, Brock drafted to SmackDown, have The Fiend win the championship, and Brock Lesnar quit SmackDown to go to Raw. If that was your plan from the start, why the fuck did you put The Fiend inside Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins? Why? I really want to know. Why the fuck did you do that? Doesn't take rocket science. There was no reason to do that. But what did we see every single fucking week from The Fiend, from Clash of Champions till after Survivors, till pretty much Crown Jewel? Every single week, the lights would go down, the lights would come back up, and The Fiend was mandible clawing somebody, whether it was Brock Lesnar, not Brock Lesnar, whether it was Kane, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins. This didn't fucking matter. Every single week, somebody ate the mandible claw. What do they do 2 weeks ago in a backstage segment, because they didn't do it in the UK? Lights go down, lights come back on, and The Fiend is mandible clawing Daniel Bryan. Last week, they broke that, and we had Daniel Bryan in the ring with The Miz and the Firefly Funhouse, and what was a good segment. This week, what do? We have Daniel Bryan trying to embrace the yes movement, goes to do the yes, the lights go down, the lights come back up, mandible claw, and he has killed Daniel Bryan again. Why? What is the fucking point? It's just the same thing over and over and over. It's getting to the point that it's like the lights go down, and it's like, here comes the Fiend to mandible claw. Now, I will say the way that they did it this time was actually, like, the way they had the Fiend enter the ring was fucking awesome. The lights go down. The Miz is in this corner, just laying there, looking like he's fucking dead, tired. Lights go down, lights come back up, in the red light. Miz is nowhere to be seen, and where the Miz was at, the Fiend was just sitting there. That part I was fine with. I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. But as soon as he gets up and hits the mandible claw, it's like, ugh. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. It's just like if you eat... It's just like if you watch... Okay, The Mandalorian's going on right now. Which, I only seen the first 2 episodes. I gotta watch the 3rd one. But if you watch all 8 episodes for that when it's done, and you're like, well, I like that so much, I'm gonna watch it again. And I'm gonna watch it again. And I'm gonna watch it again. It's gonna be eventually where it's like, you get fucking sick and tired of seeing Baby fucking Yoda because you've seen it multiple fucking times. If you don't know who Baby Yoda is, I don't give a shit. You should be watching this thing because Baby Yoda's so cute. Anyway. It's just like watching, it's like you having that crazy girlfriend who's obsessed with Twilight. And she wants you to watch Twilight with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week because she can't get enough of it. And it's just the same fucking 3 movies. Oh, I'm sorry, not 3 movies. The first movie. She doesn't like the other 2. She likes the first one. She can't stand the other 2, but she loves that first one. And she has you watch that same movie again and again and again and again, where you don't want like any mention of vampires or werewolves. You just want to punch somebody in the fucking face. It's just getting so over. You're overexposing the Fiend. The Fiend's mini feud with Finn Balor was so much better because you only saw the Fiend once, maybe twice, and then after he beat Finn Balor, we didn't see the Fiend outside of once or twice until we got to Hell in a Cell. I'm sorry, not Hell in a Cell, but Clash of Champions. And just like they do, we want to keep the Fiend special. You know how you don't keep the Fiend special? On Monday Night Raws, every single week, this entire fucking month, what do they do after the show goes off the air? After the show goes off the air and the clutter's done and everything, the lights go down, the lights come up, and we have a match with the Fiend. It's usually a cage match, and the Fiend is defending the Universal title. Why is he doing that? Because he was scheduled to be on Raw for, I believe, the rest of this month, and he's only being used in dark matches every single week. But it's the same fucking thing every single week. And you have people who go to these shows, watch Raw, watch SmackDown on Friday, see the Fiend do the exact same thing that he's been doing week in and week out, and they're just like, does this guy do anything else? He actually, in matches, he's a fucking horror villain who can't fucking be killed, and outside of that, he's just thumbs up, lights, mandible claw, and that's that. You gotta do something else with it. Here's a good idea. Don't, like, after Sunday, after tomorrow, after today, after Sunday, do not let us see the Fiend for at least 2 or 3 weeks. At least 2 or 3 weeks. There's no fucking reason to continue to use the Fiend and waste the Fiend every single fucking week. I'm tired of it. And the show ended. The only high spot and the bright spot of this entire Raw and NXT invasion was Raw and SmackDown were brawling in the ring. SmackDown had the upper hand. So we cut to the back where we started the show. And we see the army of NXT coming down with this tank, with the tank. Like, think of DX from 1998 when they invaded WCW, as Triple H would say back then. And they were on a Jeep that was tricked out to be a tank. They did that here. Leo Rush is sitting like just sitting there on the front of just crunched up on the front of the Jeep when it comes down. They all come out. Road Dogg is also a part of this now because he is part of NXT. He is a part of the Performance Center. So him, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels wave out the troops, and we have ourselves a nice, big, huge brawl. Somewhere, somehow, Keith Lee got into the ring again. Somehow, someway, Keith Lee got in the ring again, and god damn it, Montez Ford, I love you as a wrestler, but dude, you have a great career ahead of you. Don't get into the ring and take a spirit bomb from Keith Lee, because that's at least 2 weeks of needing to have your back massaged by Bianca Belair. I'm just saying. The dude just went in there, got popped up, and spirit bombed down. I've said many things that I would not. You can never pay me enough to. You cannot pay me enough to take a backbreaker from Roderick Strong, a chop from Samoa Joe. A spirit bomb from Keith Lee is on that list. A spirit bomb from Keith Lee. I cannot fathom taking that spot because, oh my god, that shit looks like that shit hurts. I mean, he did that to Drew McIntyre on Wednesday, but Drew McIntyre is like twice the size and has a lot bigger build than Montez Ford. Montez Ford is a skinny motherfucker. He has like no fucking fat on him anywhere, no nothing. He looks skinny as hell, and this guy is getting put into a fucking powerbomb, spirit bomb, getting powerbombed through the fucking ring. It's not even funny. Of course, Braun Strowman came in, and I was hoping we would have a meeting of the Bulls in the middle of the ring. They backed up, looked like they were going to charge each other. Kurt Hawkins and Roman Mendoza ruined that, and then the show ended with both of these guys, with everybody brawling. Now, after the show went off the air, apparently, everything whittled down to a Baron Corbin being left in the middle of the ring. Road Dogg, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels go into the ring, pretend like they want him to join the X and they suck it, chant, and they ended up hitting all three of the finishes on him. So, Baron Corbin, why should we care about him if DX is burying him off TV? Way to go, WWE. And that was Raw, AEW, SmackDown, NXT, all the good stuff. That was just... But the ratings... Oh, let's talk about the ratings. I don't have SmackDown's preliminary ratings because they were not in. For some reason, they were being delayed before I started recording this. They were just not showing them anywhere. Those ratings, of course, will come in Monday. Next week, I don't expect to have the prelims either, simply for the fact is, I don't expect to see AEW's ratings or NXT's ratings until Friday because Thursday is Thanksgiving, and I don't think the Nielsen ratings are going to come out on that day. So that means the Friday ratings won't probably be until Sunday or Monday on a whole. But the Monday Survivor Series Go Home Show edition featured the final Red Brand build for Sunday's Survivor Series pay-per-view with special appearances by superstars from NXT and SmackDown. Drew a 2.127 million viewers according to Showbuzz Daily. This is up 3.4% from last week's 2.058 million viewers for a taped episode from England, which was the lowest non-holiday viewership in show history. This is the second lowest non-holiday Raw audience behind last week's episode. Last week's episode was going to take a hit no matter what. Even if Monday Night Football wasn't there, this show was going to take a hit. For the simple fact is, it was taped from the United Kingdom. I saw so many people tweeting to other people that I've already seen the spoilers, so I'm good this week. So that was going to take a hit. This week's shows, the first hour drew 2.245, which is down from last week's 2.358. The second hour drew 2.211 million viewers, that is down from last week's 2.063. And the third hour drew 1.925, which is up from last week's 3 hour. So, the first and second hours were down from last week's, but it wasn't as big of a drop. It was not as big of a drop. Last week saw 3 million viewers, 300,000 viewers drop from first hour to second hour and second hour to third hour. This week, the first to second hour drop was only 0.034. That's not that big of a drop. Now, of course, the 2.21 dropped to 1.925, which again is not good, but it's not as bad as last week, which was another 3 million drop. It's about so it's about 3 million, I think, from between. It's almost 3 million between the hour 2 and hour 3. But yes, that is definitely how it goes. Raw was the 11th from the night in viewership on cable, behind the NFL's Monday Night Football game on ESPN, Monday Night Kickoff in Rachel Maddow Show, Tucker Carlson, yada yada yada. Dancing with the Stars was a 6.631 million viewers on the broadcast TV show at 8 p.m. in the 8 p.m. hour, while The Neighborhood drew 6.487 viewers in the 9 p.m. On CBS. The Voice drew 7.68 million viewers on NBC. 911 drew 2.865 million viewers on Fox, and CW's All American Show drew 684,000 viewers, all in the 8 p.m. hour. Now, and Monday Night Raw is probably going to take a hit this Monday as well, because Dancing with the Stars are having the season finale, and season finales are a bigger draw than most other shows during one of those type of shows. Like, it's like this: the first few episodes and then the season finale are your biggest draws for those shows. Now, do I expect the only saving grace that Raw is going to have this week is that it's the Fallout show to Survivor Series. So if WWE puts on a decent show or a good show, which it could be, because you have 3 triple threat matches that are going to be fantastic, in my opinion, if they give them the time they should have. But Raw is just going to we're at that time of the year. We're getting close to the holidays where the shows are just going to get worse and worse and worse ratings wise, and there's nothing WWE can do. We were at this last year. Last year, remember when they had Constable Corbin, and the ratings just continued to flatline and die down? Yeah, I expect that a lot this year coming up. I honestly think that the episodes of the holiday episodes of Raw, I don't know what they're doing for NXT, because NXT is going to be running unopposed, because AEW is going to not be having a show on Christmas Day this year. So if NXT does a pre-tape show, which if they do, that's good for them. But AEW, of course, and stuff, it's just going to be interesting to see what we have. But I think those are going to be some of the lowest viewed episodes of Raw and SmackDown this year. AEW, it took 8 weeks, but the NXT has finally topped AEW in viewership. Wednesday's NXT drew 916,000 viewers on the USA Network, while AEW on TNT drew 893 viewers, according to Showbuzz Daily. NXT topped AEW by 2.6%. This is the best NXT viewership since the first official 2-hour USA premiere on October 2nd. The first two NXT episodes had just 1 hour to air on cable. They drew 1.179 million viewers and 1.006 million viewers. The NXT viewership is up due to the fans expecting top Raw and SmackDown superstars to appear on the final Survivor Series build on NXT. Top main roster stars such as Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Drew McIntyre, The Revival, and others appeared. AEW still topped NXT in the 18 to 49 demo, as it ranked number 8 in cable, top 150 for the 18 to 49 demo, while NXT ranked number 14. AEW ranked 36 in the overall viewership, while NXT ranked 35 in viewership. Last week's AEW episode drew 957,000 viewers and ranked number 5 in the cable top 100 and 36 in the viewership, so it dropped a 6.7 last week. The episode of NXT drew 750 viewers and ranked 22 in cable, top 100 and 41 in viewership. Now here's the thing. If you want to call this a victory for for NXT, here is the truth of things. AEW drew a 0.39 rating in the 14 to 9 demographic, while NXT drew 0.30. Last week's AEW show drew 2.43 in that demographic, while NXT drew a 0.25. To compare pro wrestling viewership like this, so far, we're not going to look at any of that stuff. But so in every demographic that matters outside of the top 50, like the 50 plus, AEW won out. NXT won that one demographic. If that one demographic were to swing the other way, AEW would have won on the night. This is not a big victory for NXT. It's not. Winning the night but not getting that demographic. The demographic that this company is supposed to be appealing to is never a good thing. As you know, last week, as I just said, AEW drew .43 in that demo, while NXT drew .25. Now, this, of course, AEW drew 0.39, while NXT drew a .30. AEW, if NXT wants to start having big wins, which honestly, AEW and TNT did not expect to have the numbers they're getting. They expected it's been talked about how they expected to have about 500,000. About 500,000 to 600,000 as a viewership. So the fact that they are just outperforming what they expected just shows you that this is not a big deal to them. Now, the fact that AEW was kicking NXT's ass for week in and week out until this week, that is a big deal to WWE. And anybody says, oh, they only did it for Survivor Series. Really? Did you really have to have almost everybody from Monday Night Raw and SmackDown on this show? No, you did not. Like I said, Revival vs. Red Dragon, that's a check mark. Becky Lynch vs. Rhea Ripley, if you want to do that, fine, that's a check mark. But you didn't have to have the Viking Raiders come down to face the Forgotten Sons. That match was unnecessary. You didn't have to have the 4 fucking brawls that you had in this show. Ricochet vs. Matt Riddle. That match could have been saved for another time if you wanted to do so. You didn't need to have it. So, anybody saying they just did it to build Survivor Series, that's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. It's not hard to see that, yes, that is fucking bullshit. WWE was like, Vince McMahon was desperate, so he, like, if they want to do the open door policy, that's fine, you built a Survivor Series, but to make majority of NXT feel like Raw and SmackDown lights, just, no, it just doesn't work for me. So, as I said, I don't have the SmackDown ratings, and I tried to get them, but it didn't happen. So, Jim Cornette. Oh, Jim Cornette, a very polarizing figure in the world of professional wrestling, has his own podcast. I think he has like 2, actually. But he, of course, I said earlier, was on the NWA Power this week, and his joke, which I understand what he was trying to go for, but he could have did it a different way. He even came out and said it wasn't a racist thing, it was just something else. And people took it the wrong way, and I think it's because if he changes just 1 or 2 things, I think he would have been fine with it. And then here's the thing, I don't lay the blame of the fact that this got out on their show all on Jim Cornette. Should he have said what he said? No. If you're gonna make a joke like that, you find a different way around it. But I also have to lay the blame on who the fuck ever does the editing process for these shows. These were taped in October. October 4th and 5th, or like I think it was 2nd and 3rd actually. These shows were taped in October. Are you doing the editing process week for week, or all these edited and done already? This is something that if you did not want it to, like, obviously Dave Lagana or whoever does the editing didn't like hear the joke or didn't find it offensive. But as I said, he said earlier, Trevor Murdoch is the only person who could strap a bucket of fried chicken to his back and ride a motor scooter across Ethiopia. Trevor Murdoch can take care of himself. If you took out the word, and the only reason that people are calling it racist is because he said a bucket of fried chicken. I guarantee you, if he would have said something about he could be a delivery boy, he could have a tub of ice cream, or something strapped to his back while he's riding through Ethiopia. No one would have said anything. But the fact that he said a bucket of fried chicken, oh, it's racist. Are you fucking kidding me? Yes, Jim Cornette shouldn't have said it, but people are getting way too sensitive on the matter. It wasn't a racist thing to him. Was it a thing he should have said? No. But he should have said, again, if he would have said, like, Trevor Murdoch is the only person who could strap a tub of ice cream to his back and ride a motor scooter through Ethiopia. I don't think anybody would have said a damn thing. It's the fact that he said a bucket of fried chicken. Because, as we all know, you can't make a joke about a bucket of fried chicken because, oh, that's racist. It is what it is. NWA announced Jim Cornette had resigned from the company. I say he was fired, and NWA will also implement a new procedure to review programming before it airs. Why was this not there in the first place? I'm sorry. I'm not that good at editing. I'm not a good editor, but if I'm like, I was about 4 or 5 months ago, a Family Dollar was going out of business in my town. They were selling some PS4 games for real cheap, and one of those games was Wolfenstein 2. Wolfenstein 2. I have a gaming YouTube channel called The France Plays. I go over there and I play through video games, no commentary. But Wolfenstein 2, I could not just put that game up. Like, I could not put up the cutscenes in that game without editing them. Because it's a 1968 game. It's a game in an alternate reality. I think 1968 is it or something like that. Doing an alternate reality of World War II. And in a couple of these cutscenes, you have the main protagonist's father saying the N-word. You have the protagonist as a child later on in the game in a flashback saying the N-word to a black child, a black girl child. If I tried to put that on YouTube and went, oh, it's just a video game depicting something from 1968, my channel would have been shut down like that. I'd probably lose this channel too because they're tied to the same email address. So how the hell this got past the editing process is beyond me. If I'm playing a game and I'm recording it, and like Wolfenstein 2, if I want to put those up on YouTube, I know that I have to cut out the N-word. I have to cut out anything like that because I know somebody's going to get fucking offended, and YouTube's not going to stand for it. I'm going to lose my channel if I do something like that. Why the hell would you not sit there and have somebody who's ever doing the fucking editing process? If I'm doing a wrestling show, and I have commentators, and it's a pre-taped show, and I have time to edit it, which you've had an entire fucking month and a half to edit this. An entire month and a half. Okay. Why the hell would you not have somebody listen to the commentary? I would be listening to the commentary. If something doesn't sound doesn't sound right, of course, like I said, it went over my head. But I would probably not be doing this on my own. I'd probably have somebody there to, if something went over my head, they would probably catch and be like, ooh, that's got to get out of there. That has to be taken out of there. Okay. And here's the thing. You had a month and a half to sit there and edit it out, and the comment is made when Jim Cornette is off screen. So you could have had, if you have a good editing team, had Jim Cornette come into a recording studio, and tell a different joke, just so when you put that up, when you put that up, it's not going to be a bad thing, and you're not going to hear that joke, and that's not going to happen, and Jim Cornette doesn't have to resign. It's Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette is at fault for saying what he said. However, he's not all at fault. It would have made the NWA look bad had they edited it out and it come out later that was in there. Maybe, maybe not, but I would have been like, hey, at least they had the sense to actually get rid of the clip of what he said before it made air. But nobody fucking thinks. Nick Aldis had a little bit of saying on this as well. As he said, there was in poor taste, and that he hopes that this is the first and last episode of the NWA Power that gets overshadowed by things like this. We'll have to wait and see, Mr. Aldis, but I'm not going to hold my breath because these things are quite clearly, these things were taped a month and a half ahead of time, and somehow this shit gets through the cracks anyway. Jim Cornette was unapologetic when he took to the Jim Cornette Experience podcast on Friday to address the controversial comments he made on the NWA Power episode this week. During the episode, Cornette said, Trevor Moon, okay, we already went through that. Cornette seemed unwavering by the situation. He said, and I quote, some people that live under a rock may not have been bombarded by this, may not actually know what the fuck this fucking uproar was about. It was because during the match between Trevor Murdoch and Nick Aldis, I used the joke that I first coined for Big Bubba Rogers. Dick Monarch is so tough, he could strap a bucket of fried chicken to the back of the, you know. That's what happened. This is why I broke Twitter again. I told a 30-year-old Ethiopian joke about starvation. Here's the thing, Cornette. 30-year-old joke does not fucking fly in 2019. I'll talk about Jerry the King Lawler because I got news on that too here in a bit. But it's a 30-year-old joke. This is 2019. This isn't 1989. You can't be using jokes like that. Here's an idea. If you're going to be on commentary for something, if you have this joke in the can, here's a good idea. Talk to somebody. Run this by a couple people and see if this joke is worth putting out there. He says, I can't remember if I stole it or not. Somebody said it might be Richard Pryor, but you can't find evidence of that. I always remember that I made it up because in the 80s, which you might not recall because you're not very old, everybody was telling Ethiopian jokes because it was a huge news on a Main Street basis. It wasn't We Are the World, it was Live Aid was for the Ethiopian famine. Every comic on television was making Ethiopian jokes. Every kid in school was making Ethiopian jokes. Somebody said, well, if he hadn't had said chicken, it would have been fine. Well, a bucket of chicken sounds funnier. It's a funnier visual than a fucking plate of sushi. That would have been worse because you would have pissed off the Japanese fans. Or a goddamn hand sandwich. Actually, no, I think that would have been funny. So it just happened to be that because that was funny. And that's because Ethiopia was noted for a place where everybody is fucking starving. It's a starvation joke, not a race joke. It was a starvation joke in 1989, Jim Cornette. In 2019, it is a race joke. You can't say things in 2019 that you could say in 89. Starvation. A hilarious topic, but everyone was doing them. So point is, whether it's a good joke or a bad joke, it was a joke that was been told on TBS, USA Network, broadcast television stations across America over a variety of locations for the past 30 years. 30 years ago. You don't hear Ethiopian jokes nowadays because no one talks about that. Cornette's comment made the final broadcast, which ended up getting the episode temporarily pulled, which it was, so they could edit the comment out. In this case, I said, Dave Lucana, this was a taped show. I said, what do you think about it when you heard it? He said, well, it went right past me. I said, you think? Why was there this level of, well, they were so upset on Twitter? That's another thing I talked about with him before. If you give these people the idea that every time they complain about something, you'll just jump around apologizing whether it was said or what. This part right here is absolutely true, other than just this. If you give these people on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram and other places the idea that every time they complain about something, you'll just jump around apologizing whether it was said, or whether it was meant in a bad way or whatever the fuck, then they will do it all the time, and he's already proven that he will do that. This right here applies to everything. You will have a gaming company go out there and they'll make a joke about something, or they'll have a piece of art, what is that called? A piece of art for the game be put on Twitter, and people will sit there and bitch, moan, and complain, and like the CEO of the company this gaming company will come out and is like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody. This right here pussifies everybody. This is what I call pussification of the United States. People are going to sit there and whine and complain until they get their way, and what happens is the NWA is going to feel pressure. Anybody else is going to feel pressure to where they go and apologize. I'm not apologizing for anything on this show, motherfucker. If you don't like what I say, I don't give a shit. People need to stop apologizing for everything. First off, The only thing that Dave Lagana should be apologizing for is the fact that it went right past him. Or you, again, if you're doing this, you should have a second set of ears, or have somebody. I don't care if it's your friend. I don't care if it's somebody who's good at editing. Have somebody in the booth who, wherever you do this editing process, being a second set of ears. So if something like this gets past you, they'll be like, hey, Dave, that needs to be taken out because nobody's going to want to hear that. This was brought up, and also I mentioned I don't appreciate, as I said, one of our talents making an offensive statement or offensive comments like I was fucking the level of disgust is like I was boiling babies to sacrifice in service of Satan on live television. I said I don't appreciate being groped on all of these apologies for shit I'm not necessarily sorry for. Besides the fact that when I said it, Joe Galli was sitting next to me. He didn't clutch his heart and fall over for shit. His pants shit his pants. Nobody in the control room thought to pull the plug like they did when they mentioned Ronnie and the challenge. Nobody remarked on the comment afterwards. In the 6 weeks that the show's been sitting in the can and they've gone through the editing process and got ready for broadcast, nobody thought to bring it up. That is something that they needed to have ready to go. We live in a very sensitive time that anything said that somebody can find something to complain about, they're going to go to Twitter and complain about, start a movement, and somebody's going to lose their job. It's going to happen. Again, doesn't excuse what he said because it's a 30-year-old joke that did not need to be said. If you want to use a joke, come up with something that's more modernized. The Ethiopian jokes was something that happened in the 80s. Not the 90s, not the 2000s, not the 2010s. Give me a fucking break. When I asked Dave, I said, what do you think when you heard me? He said, well, if it went right past me, because nobody thought anything about it when they heard it because it's a fucking old joke. If anyone during that process, when I had said it, the producer, one of them whom is Dave, but there's a variety of other people that can talk to us on our headsets, had said, Jim, don't say that. Okay, sorry, if after the show, well, we're going to have to take that out. Take out that one joke. Okay, fine, sorry, to make you have extra work. Okay, sorry to make you have extra work. If anybody called me up and said, Jim, you told that joke you told a bunch of times, well, that's racist. Okay, I didn't know that because I was thinking it was a fucking funny. I think it was fucking funny because the people in Ethiopia was hungry. Again, Jim, 30 years ago. Are you stuck in the 1980s? It seems like it. Cornette was then blunt about the fact that he found working with the NWA not fun anymore, and if it isn't fun for him, then he doesn't want to be doing it. Which honestly, anybody could be saying that. If something's not fun for you, then you're going to leave. So maybe, just maybe, even if this entire this thing didn't happen, maybe Jim Cornette wasn't going to be back anyway. Another of the issues was the Cornette explained. To be honest, this was rapidly, as I said to him, I think the quote was becoming not fun anymore for anybody. I'm sure they don't want to go through this shit, but the only reason I was doing this program, it was not as a career. It was because I like the NWA. I like old-fashioned wrestling. I wanted to help the program and have some fun. I was being compensated, but this is not going to affect my standard of living. It was about just doing something once in a while that was contributing to a program that actually is trying to do wrestling. So if it ain't fun for me because I got to put up with every 2 weeks being asked to apologize for shit that I'm not even sorry for, that to the degree that people are goddamn wanting me fucking stuck up the ass with a goddamn fucking telephone pole and swung around downtown. Again, Jim, old joke doesn't land in 2019. Come the fuck on, dude. I'm not that sorry because it was a joke, and if you don't like this joke, then fine. And I'd even apologize for a bad joke, but this goddamn feedback was above and beyond the offense, and I didn't mean it in any racist ways, for fuck's sakes. I think the people that I took instantly as racist think that must be the only thing that people's mind when they think of black people and chicken, which that's another issue that you've got. I in no way was thinking in that direction. That is a problem that it seems. It's like, you can't make a joke about a bucket of chicken because everyone thinks about racism. Immediately. Why? I don't fucking know. I'm only 29 years old. I don't know where the whole black people and chicken thing came from. That's not on me. You have to talk to a historian. But, yes, had he said something else that was funny, he could have said he honestly could have said like a bucket of fish. He could have said a bucket of fish and I don't think anybody would have said a damn thing. If you would have said a bucket of fish, I think everyone would have been fine. Something that doesn't correlate with race, because we are in a sensitive time in this country that you say something that isn't meant to be racist, it's going to be taken as racist. So pretty much everyone has to step on walking on eggshells, because if you say something and one person gets offended, you could have 1,000 people watch this show and not one person gets offended, then somebody else is going to get offended, and 20 people are going to get offended, to where everybody eventually, well, not everybody, but most people get offended. It happened. Nothing we can do about it. Jim Cornette is gone from the NWA. It was an Ethiopian joke, I guess. Like I said, 1980s, I was not born at that time, so I don't get it. It flew over my head. I thought it was just a terrible fucking joke. It was one of those things where it's like, what the hell is that all about? So Jim Cornette out of the NWA, off to do his podcast. I don't listen to the Jim Cornette Experience, so out of my life, don't give a shit. Raw's commentary team. The WWE announced team was shaken up this past September, with SmackDown moving from the USA Network to Fox. The new Raw team consisted of Vic Joseph, Dio Madden, and WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter that the feeling backstage is that Jerry Lawler has been better than expected. Really? It was noted that Lawler's experience has helped Vic Joseph get in the right rhythm. As for Lawler, the only direction he's been given has been to avoid using outdated cultural references, as the company wants to appeal to a younger audience. So he's supposed to not use outdated cultural references, but he can make outdated jokes that do not fucking fly in 2019. Every time Jerry the King Lawler seems to open his mouth in a wrestling match, it seems to be for a fucking joke that worked in 1995, does not work today. It's like, this guy has got to fucking go. Has to go. I just cannot stand listening to Jerry the King Lawler come on and crack shitty, cringe-ass jokes. And then you want to talk about racist motherfuckers. Why did nobody have an uproar when he was like, is that Flash Morgan or Flash Gordon? When he called fucking Humberto Carrillo, he made a racist joke to Humberto Carrillo. I can't remember exactly what it was, but people weren't fucking having an uproar when he was talking shit, when he was making jokes about Humberto Carrillo, which somebody could take as racist as well. But no, because everybody loves Jerry the King Lawler. He has got to go. Dio Madden, of course, speaking of him, has been off of television since suffering a beating at the hands of WWE Champion Brock Lesnar on Raw earlier this month. Madden is still a member of the Raw announce team and is just stunning the Lesnar attack. Mojo filled in for Madden this past Monday night and received rave reviews. Meltzer noted that everyone backstage recognized how good Joe is in that role. Are you surprised? I'm not. If you wanted to give me Dio Madden, Vic Joseph, and Samoa Joe, I'm all for it. Samoa Joe, usually, and it's surprise, surprise, somebody who has great mic skills as good as a commentator. Pretends to be shocked. But Joe's been out of action since September after suffering a thumb injury, broken thumb. On his WWE backstage last week, Joe said his recovery was a day-to-day thing, and that he'll be back in the ring in a few weeks. I fully expect when Samoa Joe calls it a career, hangs up his boots, he's going to be transitioning into a commentary role, because quite honestly, he is that fucking good. And you got a taste of it this past Monday. I'm just hoping that Dio's not getting taken off the commentary team, because the fact that you're keeping King on there but taking Dio off tells me that you gave up on Dio Madden. And the fact that he got beat down 2 weeks ago by Brock Lesnar, only to just be gone still, when Booker T and Michael Cole got beat down by Brock Lesnar, I think it was in 2014, didn't even miss a week. I don't think Cole missed a week. He missed the rest of the show, but Michael Cole was back the next week. So why is Dio Madden taking forever to come back? This next one, oh boy. Kelly Klein is the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. The fired Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Controversy is rife over at Ring of Honor with the recently fired Women's of Honor Champion, Kelly Klein. In detailed story at Newsweek Kelly Klein addressed the situation, which stems from a head injury she suffered in a match on October 26th during the company's UK tour. There was no doctor there to check on me, Klein said in the interview. Nobody suggested a protocol. I wasn't aware of or briefed on a protocol. In a fortunate occurrence, the facility in the UK which housed the event did have medical personnel on hand. Klein believes that a wrestling company not having any medical staff is alarming, as other major promotions such as WWE and AEW have medical staff on hand at all events that can handle procedures for dealing with injuries. First off, yes, a company like Ring of Honor should have medical personnel on scene every single show. You are owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, which are worth more money than WWE and AEW combined. Why the hell is Sinclair not giving you medical personnel? Why are there not people like EMTs or E-Squads on site? Now a independent promotion, a small indie promotion, I can see maybe not having medical staff, a full medical staff. Maybe they have a E-Squad on standby, but like a full medical staff to do concussion protocols at that show, I don't see that happening because that shit's expensive, and most, if not all, small wrestling companies, wrestling independent promotions aren't going to be able to afford that. But yes, Ring of Honor should have this shit. Klein finished the rest of the match, and it was only when she returned to the backstage area after the match, laid down on the concrete floor of the women's dressing room, and began speaking gibberish for an hour that her colleagues realized that Klein appeared to have sustained an injury. Other instances of a concussion from Klein came in April 2018, as with the recent head injury, Klein said nothing happened regarding the medical treatment that she received from the company. In a face-to-face meeting on November 7th, Klein raised her concerns as Chief Operating Officer Joe Koff, and allegedly was told the company does have a concussion policy, something Klein claims she has never seen. She said that if there was a concussion policy, then the talent was not aware of it. Koff also told her that the Ring of Honor management is always aware when talent is hurt. Klein responded, "No, you don't, because nobody knew I had a concussion in New Orleans," referring to her April 2018 concussion. Klein, who was fired by the company through email as revealed by her husband, B.J. Whitmer, said Ring of Honor did not offer to arrange or pay for treatment for her recent concussions. The lack of documented policy makes it unclear to talent who is responsible for arranging medical care and costs. It's being reported in some cases, but not all. Wrestlers may be told they can invoice for the cost of appointments and procedures, but only after they have already paid out of their own pocket. Earlier this month, former Ring of Honor staff Joey Mercury tweeted out, with Klein's permission, emails sent between Klein and Gilliland, revealing that she was making under $24,000 a year, which is the promotions with the promotion in her 2019 contract. Regarding her annual pay, Klein says she is only able to afford costly neurologist appointments and rehabilitation because her benefits from her husband B.J. Whitmer's private health insurance. Yeah, working with AEW gets those insurance for you, which is awesome for the fact that she has somebody working at AEW, which B.J. Whitmer is a backstage guy in AEW. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to take care of these appointments, Klein said. The Women of Honor's championship has had the difficulties with Gillian while negotiating a contract from 2019 in December last year. The wrestler asked this person for an annual pay of $24,000 and an increase of $4,000, but was rebuffed. Klein says that the rebuttal and lack of a development of storylines for the women's division on the weekly Ring of Honor television series makes it very evident that the value of the women less than the male wrestlers. Let me tell you about the Ring of Honor weekly television series that they've had over the last few months. The Ring of Honor television, the Ring of Honor TV show that you see on TV is a fucking joke. They have, what I've seen over the last few months or so, they have one match. You get one match from one of their events, and then you get highlights from the rest of the show. They want you, and Ring of Honor is doing everything they can to get you to sign up for Honor Club so you can watch these shows, pay them to watch these shows, so they don't have to show them on free television. That is fucking bullshit right there. There's a lack of real value of talent and management eyes in general, Klein says, and then with the women especially, I don't feel that they value the women or what they are doing or how hard they are working. A Ring of Honor spokesperson told Newsweek that a $20,000 contract is the most ever offered for the women's division and is in fact more than what is is paid to most male performers who work on a non-exclusive basis. Maya says she is not planning to wrestle for the rest of the year as she recovers from the concussion, but will continue fighting to get better working conditions. I imagine part of the thought process behind trying to shut me out of Ring of Honor was that maybe the issue would no longer apply to me. And I just drop it, but that is not even, it's not even ever been about how things could benefit only me. I want my friends and colleagues to have a safe and fair work environment. I'm still going to ask them to do better. Taking away my job that does not change the issues. I want them to be accountable for creating an unsafe environment. And the only way I know how is to have enough eyes on it that the public will have to hold them accountable. Here's the thing. The only way you're going to do that is if you sue them. Ring of Honor is losing a lot of traction. Ring of Honor has lost a lot. Ring of Honor has lost their way. Ring of Honor used to be a hip and great, a good brand, a good show, a good company for people to go to. There was a time, I think it was earlier this year, that New Japan stars Juice Robinson and others have come out and had told management they don't want to work with Ring of Honor anymore. They view Ring of Honor as minor league, and they don't want to work with them. With the announcement of new NJPWA, New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, I don't think that agreement's going to be a thing anymore. I think that's going to just kill Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is going to be going away probably. I'm going to make a prediction right now. November 24, by Thanksgiving of 2020, Ring of Honor will cease to exist or be on its last legs. Because quite honestly, I've seen things, I've seen pictures, and the gates for Ring of Honor have been down. Everything in Ring of Honor has been down. The G1 Supercard is the peak, and they're just slowly on the decline, and they're just not going to be able to do anything else. Ring of Honor is coming to an end, and there is nothing else that they can do about it. Like, if I was Kelly Klein, I would be suing their asses, and because if you have medical records and everything, I would sue their asses. It would not surprise me if by this time in January, Kelly Klein is in AEW working with her husband, getting paid how she should be getting paid. He was the Women of Honor's champion. $20,000 a year. That is chump change to what others are making in professional wrestling. That is like minor league at best. $20,000 a year. Wow. I mean, if you're somebody on the independent scenes, you want to be making that much a year. But you're working for Ring of Honor, who is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, who again is worth more than at least WWE and I believe AEW combined. And why the fuck they are not paying these men and these women, or these women especially, higher than they are is beyond me. And the fact that this spokesperson said that $20,000 a year is higher than what anybody who's working for a Ring of Honor who's not exclusive. Why are these women not making more money, like making about the same amount that the men are who are exclusive to Ring of Honor? It makes no sense to me. AEW, I don't know what the contracts are for AEW stars, but I'm sure they're making more money than this. We got one more big one, but Cody Rhodes has come out and was asked about when these are going to be reset. When are the records going to be reset? Because right now, if you don't ever reset the records, then it's just going to, like, when you get to somebody having 100 and some, like they have 120 and 1 or 101, it's going to look stupid. So how are they going to remedy this? Let me see. It's going to be about, he said at the beginning of the year, it says, when the year ends at AEW is in Jacksonville in January, that is when the plan is to reset it. Tony's obsessed with numbers. He mentioned, well, we'll do a reset. We'll have your overall record out on there. I'm thinking that a lot of numbers with the Twitter handles and their nicknames. If you're going to do the overall record after they reset should only be on AEW.com. There should be an overall record for the year, and then your overall record over all time. So Jericho, who is 7-1 overall, like say he doesn't have another match the rest of the year, and it resets, and we go to the next one, and he has say Jericho ends up 10-1 or 10-3. Say Jericho ends up 10-3. When they reset, his overall is going to be 10-3. But say in the next year, like in the next month, in January, he goes and has 3 matches and goes 3-0. So his overall for the year should be 3-0, but his overall lifetime overall should be 13-3. Just an idea there. But to finish this off, AEW is going to have students train under contract at a wrestling school co-owned by a former WCW wrestler. AEW Executive Vice President Cody Rhodes revealed on Twitter on Friday that AEW will have some younger talent training as students at the One Fall Power facility near Atlanta. Cody responded to a fan on Twitter who asked if AEW will have a training facility like WCW's Power Plant. Cody noted that they won't have students under the AEW banner directly, but they plan to have multiple talent training at the One Fall Power Factory, where he also trains. Cody noted that these students will be under contract to AEW. WWE's done this as well when they worked with Ohio Valley Wrestling, Heartland Wrestling Association, and a Memphis one, as well as Florida Championship Wrestling. And TNA impacted this as well when they worked with Ohio Valley Wrestling because they had people training under a different banner, but they brought them in to be they were tagged as TNA talent who would come work for TNA when they were ready, even though I don't think it worked out well with TNA. But until I believe NXT became NXT, the WWE, it wasn't WWE FCW, it was just Florida Championship Wrestling. That was the wrestling promotion that they used. Deep South Wrestling, same thing. Valley Wrestling, same thing. Heartland Wrestling Association, which I think closed down a couple years ago. So it's nothing new. WWE's done this. Like the Power Plant, which was way ahead of its time, was the first time a company has actually had a place for wrestlers to train under the banner of that company. NXT, the Performance Center, is that today in NXT. Now they're going to be doing this right now, but I'd say about maybe AEW lasts 5, 6, 7 years or 10 years down the line. Maybe you get in Jacksonville, right by where in the same area of the football stadium, or where the training facility is for the football team, you will have a wrestling training facility for All Elite Wrestling. Cody didn't actually name the One Fall Power Factory in his tweet, but it looks like this is the facility he is referring to. The One Fall Power Factory is Norcross, Georgia, is owned by Michael QT Marshall and former WCW star Glacier Lloyd, who was an assistant coach there. Marshall, who also works behind the scenes with AEW as an associate producer, recently made his AEW in-ring debut by teaming with Peter Avalon for a loss to Sonny Kiss and Dustin Rhodes on the October 23rd Dark tapings. Marshall also worked an October 30th TNT episode, teaming with John Silver and Alex Reynolds for a loss to Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. Marshall has worked with the WWE and Ring of Honor, has 15 years experience. There's no word yet on who AEW will be working with the students, but Dustin has expressed interest in helping younger talents during recent media interviews. AEW has veterans like Billy Gunn and Jerry Lynn on their coaches roster, and earlier this year it was announced that they would hire Dean Malenko to work as a senior producer/coach. Now I'm just going to say this right now. Billy Gunn, Jerry Lynn, Dustin Rhodes, and Dean Malenko. You can't have 4 better coaches for AEW than those 4 guys right there. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. AEW, it's right now, you're trying to build your company. I don't expect to see a student a prospect from the under contract students for at least 2 years. I know that he said they're going to be doing that, but I don't expect them to do anything for at least 2 years. So that's great. Here's the thing. You can go out and get all the independent superstars you want. You can wrestlers. You can go out and get any former WWE superstar that you want. You can go and get somebody from Impact, MLW, or Ring of Honor, or New Japan, or Rev Pro, or any of those wrestling promotions in the UK. But you got to build your own from the inside. Getting some young prospect, some talented young prospect or two who you have under the AEW banner by contract, but you're having them tucked away being trained to become AEW superstar or wrestlers. It's going to be great. Like I said, I don't expect to see anything from them for at least 2 years. Unless they found people in this wrestling school who might be ready in the next 6 months or so. If they're starting anybody from scratch, it's going to be at least 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Professional wrestling is one of those things that everybody's different. One person could pick it up like that, like Ronda Rousey or Kurt Angle did. Somebody could take about 2, 3 years before they get to where they need to be. It depends. If they find somebody who's like a Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle, who just pick it up like it's second nature, boom, you have yourself somebody ready to be a star in about 6 months. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens for AEW. Like I said, they do have their rankings out. Hikaru Shida is number 1 in the women's division. You have Lucha Bros standing firm in the tag team division, and Pac is Pac and I believe Jon Moxley are number 1 and 2 in the men's division. Like I said, I think Cody should be taken out of the men's division. But the simple fact is he can't challenge for the championship, so him being ranked makes no sense. So, unless they come out with the secondary title, which I think they're going to do at Bash at the Beach. I think they're going to wait till they have their reset, and at Bash at the Beach, you're going to see maybe, just maybe, a secondary title, because honestly, you have to have a secondary title. You cannot have a wrestling promotion be as good as you want it to be without that mid-card title, that secondary title. NXT from 2014 or 2012, when they established what they are the beginning of what they are today, until 2018, when they introduced the North American title, always felt like it was missing something. And it was that North American Championship. When they made that North American title and it was introduced last year at TakeOver WrestleMania weekend, it was like NXT has everything that they need. It was just that one missing piece that we all wondered what were they missing. But that is your Unscripted episode 96. I'm getting out of here. It's been an hour and a half talking here. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Go check out The France Plays as I'm playing through Destiny 2, the Red War, the Legacy of Red War campaign with my Warlock. And after that is hopefully going to be Watch Dogs 2. Yes, I know this is games that should have been played a while ago, but I just got a hold of Watch Dogs 2 recently. I'm going to play through that hopefully very soon, but I got to get through the last few episodes of Red War before we worry about that. But I'll see you guys tomorrow for Wargames and Survivor Series, as this is going to be up on Sunday. If you've seen Wargames yet, no spoilers in the comment in here. If you did see Wargames, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of NXT TakeOver Wargames. But until then, my name is France, and I'll see you guys later.